So Bojo, Wache, Anin, Tanshi. Welcome honored guests, faculty, staff, and students. We'd like to welcome you to Lakehead University's Agora here in Thunder Bay. Denise Baxter, Indigenous, Makwa Dodem, Martin Falls, and Donjaba. My name is Denise Baxter. I work as the Vice Provost of Indigenous Initiatives here at Lakehead University. We are very happy that you're able to join us today to celebrate the legacy of Steve Powley and the historic Métis victory at the Supreme Court of Canada on September 19th, 2003, a mere 21 years ago, in the Canada versus Powley decision. This is an important day for us as part of our education and part of our recognition of Indigenous peoples in this particular territory. This is one of the ways that we come together to learn more about each other and learn about the important work in our region. Lakehead University acknowledges its campuses are located on the traditional lands of Indigenous peoples. Lakehead Thunder Bay, where we are right now, is located on the traditional territory of Fort William First Nation, signatory to the Robinson Superior Treaty of 1850. And Lakehead Aurelia is located on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe. The Anishinaabe include the Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi nations, collectively known as the Three Fires Confederacy. We acknowledge the history that many nations in this area hold and are committed to relationships with First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples, and all based on their principles of mutual trust, respect, reciprocity, and collaboration in the spirit of reconciliation. And so I would just like to welcome everybody here. We have a program that will be about 30 minutes. We have a little bit of video to share with you. We have some guest speakers. We have several people that'll be coming up and sharing some insights with you. And I would like to invite up the president, Brian Prairie, to say an opening prayer.
Just a little correction. I'm Métis Nation Ontario Veterans President. I'm not the regional president. Prayer for community strength. Great Spirit, on this Powley Day, remember the strength of the Powley family and also remember the sacrifices of our ancestors, the victories that have shaped our identity. Bless our Métis Nation with strength, wisdom, unity. May the honor and heritage continue to build the future to our rights and respect, and as our culture thrives. Let us walk together in harmony with all relations, all peoples, holding our heads high with pride. Merci. Thank you.
Merci. Thank you very much for your opening address to us and our opening prayer in a good way. I would like to, for those who haven't yet met our president and vice chancellor, Dr. Jillian Siddell, I'd like to welcome up to share a few remarks with us. Welcome.
Thanks so much, Denise. Good afternoon, bonjour, everyone. Welcome. I'm honored to join you for this event acknowledging an important moment in history for Métis peoples and culture. Thank you to our special guests, MPP Lise Vaugeois, there she is, President Brian Prairie, and President Wendy Houston from the Thunder Bay and District Métis Council. I also want to thank Denise and her amazing team for the work that they have done to prepare for this event and bringing us all together today. Today we gather to recognize Powley Day, an important annual celebration for the Métis Nation. This day marks the anniversary of the landmark Supreme Court of Canada ruling in the Powley case. This ruling affirmed Métis harvesting rights and signaled a significant victory for Métis people, marking the beginning of a broader recognition of Métis rights in Ontario and across Canada, rights protected under Section 35 of the Constitution Act 1982. The Powley family from the Sault Ste. Marie region and the Métis Nation of Ontario led this historic case. It remains the first court decision to formally recognize Métis rights in a way that aligns them with the rights of First Nations and Inuit peoples of Canada. Today, we honor the courage and sacrifices made by Steve and Roddy Powley and their family. We join with Métis communities across this country in celebrating the securing of these hard-fought rights and the recognition of the Métis as distinct Indigenous peoples in Canada. At Lakehead University, we are committed to fostering a deeper understanding and respect for Indigenous histories, cultures, and contributions. Today serves as a reminder of the importance of that commitment as we celebrate this historic achievement alongside our Métis colleagues, students, and communities. Miigwech, thank you.
Thank you very much, President Siddell. It is now my pleasure to introduce Wendy Houston, who is no stranger to Lakehead University. Wendy is the president of the Thunder Bay and District Métis Council, and always grateful for her joining us today.
Hello, everyone. So as Denise has introduced me, I'm Wendy Houston, and I'm president of the Thunder Bay and District Métis Council, Region 2 for the Métis Nation of Ontario. First of all, I would like to thank Denise and Stacy, Dr. Siddell, and anyone else that's been involved. The initiatives that they brought forth for the Métis citizens that attend this school and for the Métis people in this area. I'm very thankful for all you do all year long and the inclusion for us. So I want to thank you very, very much. To Brian Prairie, who is our president of the Veterans Council for the Thunder Bay, but Veterans Council for the Métis Nation of Ontario. He resides in Thunder Bay. He is a citizen here of my area, and he has graciously come to help today because our captain of the hunt, Grant Robbins, is unavailable today. So I'd like to thank him for his wonderful words, the prayers and the closing prayer, and when he speaks later, which he will be in context, explaining a little bit more in detail the Powley case. I will leave that to him and not to me. I am honored to be here as an important day for the Métis people of Ontario and also of the Métis people of Canada. It is time to reflect on our history and celebrate our achievements as distinct Indigenous people here we now call Canada. This year we commemorate the 21st anniversary of the Supreme Court of Canada's landmark decision in that Powley case. This ruling was profoundly impacted the recognition of Métis rights, solidifying the Métis as rights-bearing Indigenous people. We are distinct Indigenous people. We have our own history, culture, and constitutionally protected rights under Section 35. The Powley decision was a turning point. It brought national attention to our communities and emphasized the deep connection we have to our lands and to our Métis way of life. It showed the importance of telling our stories, especially here in Ontario, where our communities have long been overlooked. As we reflect on the anniversary, we also recognize that the work is not over. The fight for our full recognition and the respect for Métis rights continues. Each step we take today builds on the efforts of those who came before us and lays the foundation for our future generations. So Powley Day is not a celebration of a legal victory per se. It is the celebration of the strength of our communities, the resilience of our people, and our hopes for future where Métis rights are fully realized, recognized, and respected across Ontario and Canada. Thank you, Marcy.
Marcy, President Houston, for your remarks and for really setting up the things that are to come. We have a short video that we'd like to share with you from President Margaret Froh of the Métis Nation of Ontario. So that will just be queued up in a moment, and we'll...
September 19th is Powley Day. It's a day of reflection and celebration for Métis communities from Ontario westward. This year marks the 21st anniversary of the landmark unanimous Supreme Court of Canada decision in R.V. Powley, a decision that forever changed the landscape of Métis rights recognition in this country. During that decade-long legal battle, which the MNO took all the way to the Supreme Court of Canada, the history of the Sault Ste. Marie Métis community was put on trial. This community's history and their rights, which had long been denied by Canadian governments, were unanimously affirmed at every level of court. The existence of this Métis community, located in the heart of the Upper Great Lakes, is very, very clear. This fact was affirmed by the 14 judges who heard this case across 4 levels of court, including the entire Supreme Court of Canada, and that is undeniable. And yet some people still seek to deny that history, to deny Métis rights. The 2003 Supreme Court ruling confirmed what we, as Métis people, have always known. We are not simply individuals with mixed First Nation and settler heritage. We are a distinct, rights-bearing Indigenous people whose rights and way of life are constitutionally protected. Steve and his son Roddy Powley, the two M&O citizens at the heart of the Powley case, stood as symbols of Métis resilience and courage. Their actions, taken not just for themselves, but for all of our people, set in motion a legal precedent that has changed our future as Métis, not just here in Ontario, but across the Métis Nation homeland. Through their fight, they didn't just help change the Canadian law. They put a spotlight on our traditions, our connection to the lands and waters, and our history as Métis people. That's a spotlight we must continue to shine. The Supreme Court's ruling in Powley was a turning point in telling the stories of Métis communities in Canada, particularly those communities here in Ontario, which have long been ignored by the general public. We must continue to tell those Métis stories about the deep history of our Métis communities. As we mark the 21st anniversary of the Powley decision, we also look toward the future. The fight for our rights and our recognition is far from over. But with each step that we take, we honor the past and we pave the way for future generations. So today, on September 19th, we remember that Powley Day is not just about a legal victory. It is about the strength of our history as Métis communities, the resilient spirit of our people, and our dreams of the future. Happy Powley Day.
I've done this for my children. Me and my youngest son here, Rod, we discussed this problem and we said, well, let's go for it. Now my granddaughter, at 3 years old, she was grabbing a knife, heading to the basement to cut a chunk off a moose we had down there. And that's what it's for, it's my children. Like I said, for me anymore, I'm not looking for anything, I don't want anything, I just want my hunting rights from my family and myself. As long as I'm in this earth, let me alone and me hunt the way I should be hunting, the way I live off the land.
Wonderful. So thank you for sharing that video with us. An important one for sure. I would now like to welcome our MPP for Thunder Bay Superior North, Lise Bourgeois, to join us to bring a few remarks. So welcome.
Thank you very much, Denise. And I actually want to start by thanking Wendy, Brian, Tim, and all the people I've met who are Métis in our area, because they have really reached out to me and welcomed me into that community and given me opportunities to learn. I'm the MPP for Thunder Bay Superior North. I also, prior to being elected, I was teaching here in the Faculty of Education. And I think a lot about change, how long it takes to bring change, what went into making the change that we're honoring today. Not everybody knows this, but actually President Gillian Siddall and I went to the same high school. And I imagine, like, I knew absolutely nothing about Indigenous communities, Métis communities. And we were in Dundas, and just down the road were Six Nations. Nothing. It was not part of our schooling. It was not part of the social fabric. We knew nothing. And here we are. We're now at universities with required courses. It's slow. Change is slow, but they're very visible signs of change. The fact that Denise Baxter has the kind of position here and is able to do the work she's doing. The fact that Métis students can be supported here, and that we have the opportunity to keep learning every time we come together, and learning those histories and learning how to honor each other and build those relationships. So I want to honor today and think about those two men, the father and son, Steve and Roddy Powley, who made a decision to put their necks on the line by hunting, putting a written tag on the bull moose that they caught, knowing full well that if a conservation officer came along, they would be charged. And that set all of this in motion. Now, they couldn't have taken it to the end point without community support, without the strength and conviction of the Métis community and whoever worked with them on the legal level. Takes time, takes an enormous amount of human energy. And it also, but takes these smaller steps. I'm going to call this right now a smaller step, but when we all come together to celebrate and honor those achievements. So I want to thank you for the chance to speak today, and thank you everybody for being here.
Marcy, always a pleasure to have you join us, and welcome back to campus. So we have now an opportunity to hear from Brian Prairie, who is the president of the Métis Nation of Ontario Veterans Council. He's going to share with us some learning time, I suppose we could call it, where we can really, fill our bucket a little bit with some more specifics around the importance of this particular day. So welcome.
Just like to say today, this is a very significant day for me. I am a harvester. I would not be a harvester without Stephen Rowdy Powley's courage and tenacity to stick out and step forward and to make sure that our words were heard. After the Supreme Court decision, or not the Supreme Court, after the Constitution identified that Métis people were Indigenous people of Canada in 1982, we stepped forward and we tried to make ourselves heard a little more, and fell on a lot of deaf ears. So when Steve and Rowdy stepped up and said they're going to do this, it was a giant step. They took a moose, they tagged it with a personal piece of paper saying, I'm going to feed my family. This is our Métis harvesting rights. And the government didn't see it that way. So they charged them. They went to court. They won in lower court saying it is our rights. This has been identified by the Constitution of Canada. We are Métis people. We have Charter 35 rights. And the judge agreed. The government did not. So they went forward and went to Ontario Supreme Court. This became a very arduous point and a lot of legal things to go forward. But at the end of it all, they won. Again, a unanimous decision. The government did not like that. So we went to the Supreme Court of Canada. Again, a long, arduous court battle, lots of legalese, lots of pushing around and pushing forward. And at the end of it all, in September 19th, 2003, the Supreme Court unanimously agreed that the Powley and the Métis harvesting rights were correct and were put forward, and that brought us forward to making an agreement with the Ontario Ministry of Natural Resources, and we have harvesting agreements now. It's not perfect, but we have some. I had the pleasure. I never had the pleasure of actually meeting Steve because he passed away while I was still doing military stuff, and I never really got to meet the man. And but I have met his family. I've met Rowdy's several times. Every time I meet him, I thank him for their contributions. It's just like being a veteran. Everybody says thank you for your service. Well, I always say thank you to their contributions, because even though we're in a little bit more of a legal fight with our identity and our self-government, this was the first landmark decision that pushed that Métis people are Métis people and have the right to harvest and to feed our families. Part of the in the legal decision, the guidance that came through about Aboriginal rights under Section 35 of the Constitution, the courts had a hard look at this, and every court went back and agreed. That's what this means. So we have moved forward. It has, this case very much helped identify who Métis people are, have been accepted to present day Métis community, and have tried and have proved a lot of our history. We're still very much fighting right now for our identity and our resilience, but the Powley decision was a first major step towards that, and we have to thank them very much for their contribution and for what they did. So thank you.
Marcy, I'm going to be calling you back up actually momentarily. So we've had a little bit of an opportunity to learn a little bit more today about Powley Day, about the importance of this particular landmark case to all of Canada, but in particular to Métis people across this country, and particularly in our region here in Northern Ontario. And so I just would like to really thank you for taking part. Thank you for being interested, and hopefully this takes you one step further to learn more about other areas. One of the things that, if you're in Thunder Bay on this Saturday, actually from 11 till 2 p.m., Yolanda Twants is in the audience here. She wants to wave. She is working with the Elders Council. And on Saturday, we're having our annual fall harvest from 11 till 2. There will be a lot of opportunities to meet with different elders, senators, to learn more about different traditional pieces, cultural pieces, food, medicines. Our medicine garden is part of the tour that's happening there. It's a family-friendly event. Bring your feast bundle so you can sample some food, try a little bit of berry teas or different teas. I know Elder Jerry's coming to do some of that work, but it is really a great opportunity to come to visit Lakehead with your family this Saturday. So we welcome you out to the Sweat Lodge site just west of the soccer fields there. I would now like to invite Elder Senator Mr. President Prairie back up. He wears many titles, just to bring us our closing prayer before we close up officially for the day.
Prayer for remembrance. Great Spirit, give thanks for the Powley family and their pivotal role in affirming Métis identity. May their story remind us that the importance of standing up for our rights and preserving our culture. Guide us with wisdom and compassion as we honor the memory and work towards a world where Indigenous peoples are respected and valued. Make which, Marseille.
Thank you very much for bringing us our closing prayer for today. Also to President Houston for joining us. I know has a very important role, but very busy life outside of this particular role as well. And also to MPP Bourgeois for joining us. And of course to President Siddell for joining us. For the whole team who helped make today happen, thank you very much. Again, this does not happen ever. I get the privilege of being here. But really everything happened by many, many people before I got to this point. So I just want to recognize my team, Indigenous Initiatives, and all the work that happens all the time. And to everyone who joined us today, thank you very much again for coming. We do have food and beverages at the back. If you haven't had a chance to help yourself, please do so. And feel free to take a few moments to come and meet some of our guests that we have on campus with us. Thank you, Marcy. And to those online, thank you very much for joining us.